Well, part two in the question and answer situation for the diary of a griever named John Weaver, which is me. Time index right now is 16 after 5 p.m. West Coast time. Still January 19th, 2026. You got me some time to think about a couple of them here. And there was a point made on one of the comments. Now, I mentioned about a regime that we're dealing with here, and it is a regime. And here's the thing about it, what I've talked about it many times. It is a democratically elected administration. But if you paid attention to the last election we had for 2016, of all the rhetoric regarding that, and the rhetoric happening in the election for the second term of the Trump empire, you would heard that he wanted changes made worse off than any, and he's making them happen. It is a democratically elected administration. I'm not debating it. I'm debating his actions after he got into office, because he went off on tangents that we had never seen an elected official go crazy over. At least not in public anyway, except for Richard Nixon a long time ago wanted to have the power, but he respected the law. He respected the Constitution. But he still wanted more power, other than second term. That's why he got caught with Watergate. But he made his points clear, but he was trying to keep it secret. He made tapes. And he came close of getting impeached. Well, Donald Trump had been impeached twice already in his first term. The second term is where we have Senate still in control of both the GOP and the Senate and House of Representatives at this point. I should have said Congress at that point. And they are making it extremely hard for the American people to get their expressions out there, and not to mention they keep running and hiding left and right. Some Republicans are actually trying to tell Trump what the hell to do, or trying to tell him what not to do at this point. We've never had a warmongering Secretary of Defense who changed, not legally, but it changed. Well, was the Department of Defense into the War Department. Now, granted, the War Department had been there for a long time, but had changed over the past several decades, or within that point, into, I think it was after World War II, into the Department of Defense. And Hegseth didn't want to be cluttered up by rules and regulations and laws and stuff. This guy had no military training. Never been in officer school. I don't think he's ever served. I know I haven't. I've said it before in my videos. I've never served in the military. Wish I had. I'm born medically screwed up with a crooked limbs that had to be fixed, but also heart defect, which had surgery, which disqualified me from service. So I could never, up to the age of disqualification, serve in my nation's uniform of the United States of America. What you're hearing right now is me fixing my mama's and my dinner. That's why you hear the sizzling in the background. That's mama's lining her head off left and right. And yes, we had people complaining about how screwed up the democracy is, or how screwed up our government system is, or how screwed up this is. Keep this in mind, guys. What is the First Amendment? What is the First Amendment? We have a separation of powers, yes, of church and state. But we have the freedom to disagree with each other. The movie I kept trying to indicate every so often, The American President, always being mentioned at the end, of the character of President Shepard. It is out there on YouTube, which I'll probably have to find a link and hook it in, and Out There in Text. I loved that era. I loved that. It's not the romance of what was going on, but that one last section of it made it a point. America is advanced citizenship. You got to fight like hell to support your opposition's right to challenge you under freedom of speech. You may not like the point. You may have a total disdain for the damn thing. Or maybe even for the guy. But you cannot ignore or deny that your opposition has the same right of freedom of expressing his point of view. This is how our system was built. We didn't have this in jolly old England. We didn't have this in France. We didn't have this in Spain. But it was created for us, for America. And we debated, and we debated, and we debated on a hell of a lot of things. And it's compromise that works. We can go after each other like crazy, but somewhere in there is a gray area, the things we can agree on, to work on, for compromise. Well, we won't like it, but it works. It was called a while ago, a long while ago. The Constitution was a great experiment. It was incomplete. There was a lot of stuff thrown into the damn thing. Well, we had amendment processes to figure things out what we want the country to be. Great experiment. And that means a great compromise, too. We had things in there originally that we had still been fighting for decades and for centuries on. But we're still trying to get it wound down. We're trying to do what we can for our country. Give me a second. I got to check groceries. Back. Well, if you happen to hear any clanging and banging, that would be my dog trying to eat. Oh, blind if she is. Has a hard time trying to navigate her way sometimes. Trying to find food. I got the food right in front of her, but I just need for her to figure things out to where she can eat. Hopefully not step into her plates again. So, why do the people who cry the most about threats to democracy have absolutely zero respect for that same democracy when they didn't win the vote? Because they're hypocrites? One opinion, not fact. Remember the 2000 election that we had? Al Gore versus George W. Bush Jr.? Remember, guys? There was cheating that Al Gore said that Bush did. And in one particular state, they were using chads. Well, punch out ballots that you would have to take the sharp end of the thing. And most of the time they'd work, and other times they'd leave the chads hanging. Little pieces of paper, they called them chads. Well, there had been recount. And then it had to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that it was George W. Bush who won. And Al Gore bowed out. Graciously. He didn't complain about it. He didn't set up January 6th riot. It was a riot. It was a major riot. We had them covered on the live national news. And we had deaths. We had injury. We had a lot of arrests that got pardoned by our current regime in the first day. 1600, I think. Now, Trump was the one that kept bellyaching that the elections were fixed. They were rigged. He said that in 2016. He's got it on record. He did that in 2020 when Biden won. And he was complaining bitterly about it all the damn time. And now he's still trying to rig elections by coercing states to cooperate with him. Otherwise, shit happens. We're not hypocrites. Some of us are getting sick and tired of what we thought politics was, and we wanted to change. We wanted a populist who promised us the world and didn't deliver. Twice. Did you happen to see what happened to the Congress when we had it around 2016 through 2019 for the first term? They were trying to pass laws, but they couldn't get themselves together. So first 2 years, nothing happened. But a lot of griping and griping and griping and griping. Until we had the midterms, and then we had things imbalanced. We won the Senate, they got the House. Or did we get the House? The Democrats get the House, and they got the Senate. Well, we couldn't get ourselves together. Do we have hypocrites? Yeah, on both sides. It's not one side and that's about it, and you have to be right about it. So before it be open. Democracy is just not one-sided. It's a debate. It's not just two parties. As many as parties as we can get into the damn system, but we're basically rigged for Democrat and Republican. The independents have a hard time trying to get the massive votes. Remember Ross Perot? He and his mental issues had tried to get a lot of votes. He almost did. But then his own mental health screwed up and he fell by the wayside. And we had a few other parties this time trying to get in to do something. They didn't. Not much anyway. And I heard the debates, both on Democratic, food, mayonnaise. And my burger. At this point, I agree that Trump wants everything rigged. He wants to get a third term. But no one has done an actual medical on this guy, other than the one that keeps being paid off. I'm saying that Trump has mental issues. We've seen it. We're seeing this. We're experiencing it firsthand. But do we have any follow-up? You tell me, we'll both know. So if you guys got opinions, I want to see some stuff backed up. Which means I need to back up my stuff too. Keep each other honest. That being said, I got dinner. Hope you got yours. That being said,